Hollywood's biggest stars have always hidden secrets behind their glamorous facades, but few carried as many shocking contradictions as Clark Gable. The man they called the King of Hollywood was living a carefully constructed lie that would make modern PR teams blush. While millions of women swooned over his rugged masculinity and that famous smile, his co-stars knew a disturbing truth that the studios desperately tried to hide. What they discovered about America's most beloved leading man would change how you see every romantic scene he ever filmed. The first crack in Gable's perfect image appeared before he could even walk. Born in 1901 in a tiny Ohio town, baby Clark entered the world under the shadow of death itself. His mother, Adeline, had been battling what doctors suspected was a progressive brain tumor for years. When she became pregnant, medical professionals delivered a brutal ultimatum. Giving birth would almost certainly end her life. The frail 30-year-old woman who had been sick for most of her adult years made a choice that would haunt her son forever. She decided to risk everything for one chance at motherhood, paying $10 for a doctor to attend the birth in their modest home while neighbors helped deliver the future movie star. Her gamble seemed to pay off initially, but the medical experts have been right all along. 10 months after holding her baby boy for the first time, Adeline succumbed to what was likely an aggressive brain tumor, leaving behind a confused infant and a father who had no idea how to raise a child alone. This traumatic abandonment would shape everything about the man Clark Gable would become, creating deep psychological wounds that he'd spend his entire life trying to heal through the love of older women. The boy who would grow up to embody American masculinity was actually the product of an elaborate makeover scheme that would make reality TV transformation shows look amateurish. When 23-year-old Clark arrived in Hollywood in 1924, he was a complete mess by industry standards. His teeth were crooked and stained, his hair was unfashionable, and his voice was too high-pitched for leading man roles. Fortunately for him, he had caught the attention of Josephine Dillon, a theater manager who was 18 years his senior and had the money to invest in his potential. Dillon essentially bought herself a husband and a project, using her savings to completely reconstruct the future star from the ground up. She paid for extensive dental work to fix his smile, hired voice coaches to lower his speaking register, and completely overhauled his wardrobe and hairstyle. The transformation was so complete that by the time Clark reached MGM, he was unrecognizable from the small-town factory worker who had arrived just years earlier. But even this wasn't enough for the studio system. MGM executives took one look at their new acquisition and declared him too elephant-eared and unattractive to become a leading man. The studio machine went to work on him again, forcing him into intensive physical training, styling his eyebrows, and eventually giving him a complete set of dentures when his original dental work wasn't deemed perfect enough. As one biographer put it, Gable was a complete studio creation. Every aspect of his appearance had been manufactured to sell movie tickets. The price of that perfect Hollywood smile came with a disgusting secret that would plague Gable for the rest of his career. In 1933, while filming at the height of his fame, Clark suffered a severe gum infection that spread to his internal organs and nearly ended his life. Doctors were forced to remove almost all of his teeth and fit him with a complete set of dentures before his 32nd birthday. The studio covered the medical bills and the recovery time, spending his absence as a routine rest period. But they couldn't hide what happened next. The primitive dental technology of the 1930s left Gable with persistent, overwhelming bad breath that became legendary throughout Hollywood. His Gone with the Wind co-star Vivien Leigh complained constantly about the stench during their romantic scenes, and multiple actresses refused to do kissing scenes without warning. The irony was almost too perfect. America's greatest screen lover had breath so foul that the women paid to adore him could barely stand to be near his face. Gable became obsessively aware of his problem, and developed what colleagues described as a cleanliness fetish that bordered on the pathological. He showered multiple times every single day, changed his clothes constantly, and insisted on fresh bed linens every morning. He even built a portable shower system so he could maintain his hygiene routine while traveling. He shaved his chest and armpit hair daily, explaining to anyone who would listen that body hair made people smell worse. He refused to take baths because he couldn't stand the idea of sitting in dirty water. Yet despite all these precautions, the denture-induced halitosis remained his most closely guarded career-threatening secret. The one person who could see past Gable's manufactured image and accept all his flaws was actress Carla Lombard, and losing her broke something inside him that never fully healed. The couple had met in 1932 and immediately recognized kindred spirits in each other. Both were products of the Hollywood machine, who had learned to play the fame game while maintaining some sense of authentic connection. Their marriage became the one genuine relationship in Gable's life, the only place where he could drop the carefully constructed persona and simply exist as himself. That sanctuary was destroyed in January 1942, when Carla Lombard volunteered for a war bond tour in her home state of Indiana. The Treasury Department had strict rules about commercial flying during wartime, but Carla was eager to return home to her husband and chose to take a civilian flight back to California. The plane never made it to its destination, crashing into a mountain and ending every life on board. When the news reached Gable, witnesses described a complete psychological collapse. The man who had spent decades perfecting his image as the strong, silent type became inconsolable, openly weeping and declaring that he had nothing left to live for. His grief was so profound that he told friends he was joining the Army Air Force with the explicit hope of being eliminated in combat. This wasn't a patriotic gesture that the media portrayed. This was a suicide mission disguised as military service. Gable's death wish during World War II put him in one of the most bizarre situations any celebrity has ever faced, being actively hunted by a dictator who was also his biggest fan. Adolf Hitler had been obsessed with American cinema since the 1930s and considered Clark Gable his favorite actor, reportedly watching Gone with the Wind repeatedly during sleepless nights at his headquarters. When news reached the German High Command that Gable had enlisted as a bomber crew member, Hitler saw an opportunity for the ultimate propaganda coup. The dictator issued a standing bounty to any soldier who could capture the American movie star alive, hoping to parade him through Germany as a symbol of American defeat. German intelligence actively tracked Gable's military assignments, and Luftwaffe pilots received specific orders to avoid shooting down any aircraft that might contain the famous actor. Gable was acutely aware that his celebrity had made him a target in ways that ordinary soldiers never experienced. He reportedly told fellow service members that if his plane was ever hit, he wouldn't be parachuting to safety because he knew exactly what fate awaited him in German hands. The irony was not lost on anyone. The man who had played heroes on screen was now living in a real-life thriller where his fame had made him more vulnerable than any regular soldier. Even decades after his death, new allegations continue to surface that challenge everything we thought we knew about Hollywood's most famous leading man. In recent years, claims have emerged suggesting that one of Gable's most well-known affairs may not have been consensual at all. The allegations center around his 1935 relationship with co-star Loretta Young that resulted in a daughter that Young spent decades claiming was adopted. According to family members who came forward in 2015, Young allegedly revealed late in life that she had been forced into the encounter and only understood it as assault after learning the term date rape in the 1990s. However, film historians have strongly disputed these claims, pointing out that Young worked with Gable again years later and praised his gentleness with women in interviews throughout her life. The director of their film together wrote about their obvious mutual attraction and contemporary witnesses described what appeared to be an ongoing affair rather than a single traumatic incident. The truth may never be definitively known, but the allegations highlight how much about these Golden Age stars remains hidden behind carefully constructed public images. Looking back at Gable's life reveals the disturbing price of manufactured stardom and the psychological toll of living as someone else's creation. Here was a man whose entire public identity had been purchased, polished, and packaged by others, leaving him struggling to maintain authentic connections in a world built on illusion. His obsessive cleanliness couldn't wash away the fundamental contradiction at the heart of his existence. He was simultaneously the most desired and most physically repulsive man in Hollywood.